Hey, this is Evan Serpic, and you're listening to The Truth in This Art.
Welcome to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thanks for listening, checking out this podcast, and making us the best in Baltimore. Today, I am in conversation with the owner and executive chef of the Corner Pantry, a relaxed contemporary restaurant serving locally sourced modern British cuisine. Please welcome Chef Neill Howell. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how you doing, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to have you here. And I want to start off with the very base level question. What are the vital stats? Like, tell us about your start, your story, and your first job in the kitchen.
Oh wow! So my first job in the kitchen, I was 14, and I started washing dishes at a restaurant in this little town I'm from in England called Colchester. It was called Sloppy Joe's, and it was like an American, like Tex-Mex kind of place. Really busy, definitely. It was a crazy kitchen. I mean, I was getting burned and things were getting thrown at me, but it was like not an aggressive kitchen, but it was just like these older chefs would see it as a fun thing to like kind of make us men, as they would call it. The place wasn't not the best food, but we made our own pizza dough, and so I learned a lot of stuff there. I definitely learned how to be fast, because you had to be quick. It's a small kitchen, and but it was fun. Definitely got some fond memories of that place. But it was a funny place.
Thank you. So let's talk about how ultimately how you came from across the pond to ultimately in Baltimore, and where we're at now with the Corner Pantry. So give me some of those details.
Yeah, so in 2004, I believe, I moved to America. I had a friend of mine that I worked with in London, and he got a job in New York City for a company called Soho House, which is a British company. It's they own a bunch of high-end restaurant and members club, hotels and restaurant member clubs around the world. They're all over the place. There's New York, and there's Istanbul, and there's London. But the company started in London. It's a cool place. And one day out of the blue, he called me. He said, "Hey, I got a job. You want to come over?" And I definitely jumped at the chance. I packed my bag, gave my notice, and then a couple of months later, I was in New York, and lived there for 8 years. And my wife, Emily, who we own the business with, she works at a hotel as well, and she's a graphic designer by trade, but 9/11 had just happened, and she was struggling to get a job, so she had a job as the reservations manager in this hotel, and we fell in love, and the rest is history. Ended up in Baltimore, 2011. Yeah. We moved here. So I was a chef at a restaurant down in Fells Point for a couple of years, and just the life of a restaurant. And I don't know, I think as you get older, you just think to yourself, okay, what's the next step for me here? Am I gonna continue working for somebody else? Can I potentially open my own place? How does that look? Do I have the finances to do that? And I think that's kind of like the big question that always you kind of ask yourself in this industry after a number of years, like, what do I do next? Because, even though I am still at the age of 44 working the line, I'm doing it for myself and not for somebody else, it's been very successful. We're been open, it's been 9 years. This February will be 9 years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I don't know. It's our business plan was so small. It was me, a pastry chef, and a dishwasher, and then my wife and a barista. And we ended up with like 20 employees, and we expanded during COVID, and now we're going to expand again actually next year into the space, the clothing store, which they're going to move down, and we're going to take that space as well. So it's turned into a bit of a beast, and it's a good thing, but it's a little bit overwhelming at times.
I can imagine. Yeah. Like I said, when I first got to meet you, like in person, like I've seen you, I've been texting you or what have you, but being able to pop over and say, hey, this is the guy, just so when you see me, and it's like I was touching on earlier, it's kind of like one of those things. It's definitely a calling for the quality of food, for the creativity there, the freshness of the ingredients there, and the atmosphere. It's like a really great place. And it's funny, like my dad and brother don't live too far from there. They're like in Towson, and they had no idea it was there. So I met them over there a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, come on over. My dad, his thing is, Marine or what have you. So his thing is like, yeah, it's pretty good. That's him rousing like, this is amazing. That's just his energy. And he's like, yeah, so when are we going back to that corner place? That's literally what he calls it. And yeah.
So many people don't know about us. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, I appreciate all the compliments. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, and thank you for taking the time, because I know the life of a chef and an owner is very busy. So I appreciate it. And it brings me to this next question. What's the typical day look like? And what is your favorite time during that day? I hear some people are exhilarated by that rush. Some people are like, come on, too much. So tell me about that.
So a typical day, I mean, it's funny you ask that question, because right now our pastry team is a 4-person department. Lisa, our amazing pastry chef, and then there's 3 other people. But so I've had one person leave in the last few weeks, one person on vacation, and the 2 people left both have COVID right now. So we've gone from 4 to 0. So I am now team pastry, which like I hired Lisa, so I don't have to worry about that, because she's way better than me. So I'm trying my best to hold that together right now. But in general, like a day will start at 5 in the morning, so I get up around 4. Usually here at 5. Andrew, my breakfast chef, is in here, comes in the same time, and come in and executing any sort of prep that needs to get done, and just getting touch base with the front of house, and just making sure that their dining room's clean, the kitchen, everyone in the kitchen's kind of working on with their lists they need to get done, and any questions for the day. From there, I can usually go into the walk-in and just make sure we have everything we need. We change a few dishes, throughout the week. We have a lot of staples, but if we've got a bunch of tomatoes in there or whatever we need to use up, then we kind of try and utilize that. So I'm kind of driving the menu, as well as getting involved with all the prep and everything else that needs to get done, and basically putting out any fires that might happen, So, but it's a good question about, kind of took it in, do I get stressed out by like the daily grind? I mean, it's funny being in the pastry, because it's more like just heavily prep. There's no real service around there. I found the last few days extremely boring, to be honest, because there's nothing to like stimulate, you just like literally just, scooping, cooking, baking, putting out the front, so that's kind of, it can be a little bit mundane, but I think kitchen work in general is mundane. I mean, you have to just do the same things over and over again, and every kind of tweak it, see if it needs to be fixed. But in general, that's how you get consistency, right? It's just by like doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm very lucky here. Like, we have a great team. Mm-hmm. Everybody's been here for a long time. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. People don't leave, and I think that's a testament to their hard work, and the customers that come in and leave them nice tips, to working for me and Emily, who we have our faults, but we try our best to treat our staff with respect. Because I mean, at the end of the day, look, I can be as much as I want. If I don't have the team around me to get the food out, and to have the dining room set, and to make the customers happy, then we don't have a business,
Yeah. And I think what you were describing there is like a really almost natural segue to this next question that I have. So I read that cooking was more of a vocation for you early on, more than a passion. So could you share when that transition kind of happened, where you had that chef, like, nah, this is something I'm passionate about, and I want to go deeper, and almost in that sort of obsessive way? Because this, sometimes when I'm doing this, like, I've done work for other people and it feels like work. When I'm like doing a conversation like this, like, you probably have not seen me close my mouth, because I've been laughing or grinning the entire time, because I love talking with chefs. So, right. This is a passion for me. This sort of conversation is a passion for me. So when did that shift happen from being more of a vocation to more of a passion?
Well, I'm gonna be totally honest. I was a disaster at school. Terrible. had a lot of issues, learning issues and stuff like that. And I, obviously, like I said, I started working in the kitchen at 14. So I liked it. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the hustle and bustle of the kitchen. And I felt kind of at home there. Yeah. Nobody's asking me about like what's 10 times 4 or whatever, or any questions or any science questions or anything that I on a daily basis struggle with. I loved PE, which physical education. I loved playing football at lunchtime and playing on the cricket team, that kind of stuff at school. But everything else, I kind of really didn't like it. So I didn't really have too many choices when I left school after failing all my exams. So, I'd been working in a kitchen and, culinary school was an option. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? I kind of like cooking and maybe I can do something with this. Never really honestly thought about where it would take me. Yeah. And, luckily enough, it's panned out for me and I'm not too bad at it. But I find it extremely difficult. I'm not a chef that will sit here and tell you like, this is an extremely difficult job. Like every kitchen I've ever worked in, I find it very hard. I have to really concentrate 200% because, the margin of error is so small in a kitchen, especially if you're really committed to, cooking everything in-house and you like local ingredients and really trying to do something a little bit different. Any chef around here, the ones that I respect, I'm sure they will say the same thing. It's a difficult job and you have to commit to it. It's like anything in life. I tell my kids this all the time. Like if you don't commit, it's not really going to work out. You've got to give 100%. Yeah. My son plays soccer right now and he just thinks like he can just show up and because he thinks he's really good at soccer. He's good, but he thinks he can just show up and that'd be good enough. And it's like, no, like if you want to make the team, you got to put the effort in, be a team player, maybe show up early, maybe leave a little later, and they sort of things that I've never ever said I'm the best chef in town. I would never say that. There's people way more skilled than me, in Baltimore. But I'm a hard worker. I will show up early. I will stay late. I'll work all day if I have to, 24 hours. Doesn't matter. Whatever it needs to get done to get the food out. But in saying that, it does get a little stressful at times. It's like you're like, oh my God, like I want to do other stuff outside of work because I'm a big believer also in like you got to have stuff outside of work. You can't just it's not good for your mental health if you're just constantly at work. And I'm somebody myself that I need to sit down and think about dishes and food. It doesn't just come to me naturally. So I need some space and time. So yeah, I don't even know if I answered the question. What's going on?
No, you did. And really that's what it is. I mean, it's authentic conversations. And I think, sometimes I would do a podcast and sometimes it would be almost ranty, almost in like this stream of consciousness sort of way. And I was like, there's no answer here, is it? That was just me talking. But I think being able to get into not only what's being produced, but what's the thinking behind being produced. I think that's a lot of what comes out of here. Like if someone is making a painting, if someone is doing a sculpture or something, someone is in the kitchen coming up with all types of wild different things that are coming out of the kitchen. You want to know what the thinking is that's under it, because I think that's where the true learning and the true insight comes from. So I got a few more real questions before he shows rapid fire questions. So tell me about perception. And I think you were touching on it a bit there so with perception, does going into the kitchen with a certain feeling, whatever that feeling might be, how does it reflect how you work within the kitchen during that day? How does it affect the end results of getting the food out or prepping the food or what have you?
So, I think a lot of people have perception through cooking shows and TV shows and the Food Network and everything else that a kitchen is this place you can just walk in, you can get your cutting board and get your knife out and, everyone's chatting and and that's maybe that's just a grumpy chef's point of view. But kitchen work is very, as I said, if you want to, I kind of said to my staff the other day, and I don't want to sound big-headed, but I was like, there was a few things going on that I wasn't too happy with, and I'm like, look, at the end of the day, this is the Corner Pantry. We're not just I don't want us to just be some other place. I didn't start a business just to be another cafe here. I really want to try and make a point, a mark, show people that, you know, there are some dishes in England that you can come here and enjoy. Stuff that I grew up with, like our sausage rolls, our scones, all that kind of stuff that I really enjoy. But also, we call it modern British because, you know, in England, you can get great Indian food, you can get great Asian food, you can get a lot of different other stuff. And I also want to utilize what we have around here. I mean, there's so many great farms around here. It's insane. There's so many great, you can get great beef. You know, there's so many great farms around here that people can use. And when I go to other restaurants, I see that they're not really utilizing that stuff. It's a little frustrating for me. So perception is, for me, I mean, look, you just got to come in, work hard, and give your best. And like, I'm not really fussed if someone doesn't know what they're doing. That doesn't bother me. But if they come in and they're not 100% committed to the task at hand, or mine and my wife's vision, then that can be a little frustrating. But, you know, I think that some people have the perception of this place that I do everything, you know, like
You don't?
I'm in the back baking, so maybe the days people could have that perception. But, you know, like Lisa, our pastry chef, is a great example of like somebody came in. She'd worked a little bit in restaurants, but she had no real cooking, any baking experience. And she's come in and she's just flourished. But because me and my wife like really, you know, pushed her forward a little bit here and there, she's taken our recipes, and then now she's like doing a lot of stuff that are her own. So I mean, it's just, you know, it's a very rewarding industry, a very rewarding job. On the flip side, that it's also like totally savage at times. And you're like, you know, what am I doing? Like, you know, but it's, as you said earlier, one of the first questions, that for me, like that service aspect of it is what I love. I love that. If we didn't have it, I don't know whether I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, I love, and we're also a catering company as well. So that's a totally new, different beast for me. I've never really done catering. So, and we're busy for catering. You know, we're doing, you know, we have a wedding for 300 next month. We've done 500 person sit downs, and we do sandwich parties for 12, and then 20 people parties, people's houses for 20. So we're full service caterer. So we do everything. And we do it with this small little team that we have here. And so many people ask me all the time, like, how do you guys do it? Is that the kitchen? That's it back there? And I just, you gotta, I don't know, you gotta push yourself, but without the food being disrupted by that. You know, if the product you're putting out is not up to par and you can't do it, then you gotta pull back. And sometimes that's kind of, I honestly, is one of my pitfalls. Like sometimes I want to do too much. Maybe it's like I think honestly it's like a little bit of ego, a little bit of insecurities. I want everyone to come in here and be able to experience all these different things, and then I put myself in the hole by trying to get it all done. So, but I'm working on it. It'll figure itself out.
Yeah, it's a thing that, and I'm trying not to get caught in it myself, from my perspective in doing these podcasts. And like, for context, you're the first of 8 that I have today, and I have a day job as well. So it's like a wild thing. And, you know, knowing when I'm at capacity, knowing when, like, all right, you've kind of asked that question. You asked a painter. So when you're making eggs, that has nothing, like those things don't go together. You're not really in it. So being able to take that break. But I think one of the key gems, I think, that you touched on is being able to bring in people that you're working with to kind of get the vision. Because not everyone has vision. Not everyone has, you know, that foresight to kind of see ahead. And it's like, oh, this is what we're doing. This makes sense. And trusting in that. And, you know, for the most part, this is a one-man show with the exception of my producer who's English. So, you know, he's gonna enjoy this, by the way. But it's one of those things where it's like, I know what works. Just follow it. Just follow what I'm doing. And when let's say if it doesn't work, then I'm going to be the person that finds a way to fix it, you know, and trying to having that vision and directing me, being that North Star, if you will. And I think being able to work with people who get it and kind of understand it. So if I bring in a freelancer who's a graphics person or a freelancer who's working on a website, it's like, here's the conversation. This is what I'm aiming for. This is what I would like to see based on your skills. I want you to solve the how. I'm responsible for the why.
Yeah. It's, Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can have all the vision you need. You can have all the vision in the world, but like you need other people around you to execute it. And not everybody needs to be, like the visionary. Not everybody needs to be the rock star, but you need the generals, and you need some of the soldiers. And like I said, we have a good team here. We're I have a sous chef who's starting on Monday. Thank goodness. We haven't had a sous chef in almost 3 years. So. We're so busy now that we're at a place where it's kind of diminishing the business by me being on the line every day. And it's also diminishing the business a little bit by my wife constantly in front of the computer, answering emails. So we've to push the business forward. We really do need to fill those roles so we can, run our business. I mean,
yeah.
Because I think most people who own a business, at the end of the day, they really own a job, There's some people around here that have figured it out, that have figured out how to run a restaurant and not be there every day. And I look at them and I'm like, God, please give me, because I need that. And not because I want to be sitting around twiddling my thumbs, but, when you're like constantly your head down working, you're not eyes up looking at what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Who's doing this next to you? Why is this doesn't taste as good as it did yesterday because they missed this? Or let me taste the avocado mix you just made. But sometimes I'm just like so busy that I really do. Like it's bad. I miss those things. And then a customer gets it, and then they're not as satisfied as they were yesterday, and then I take it to heart. And but these are little things that will happen every day. I mean, no one's perfect, going to make mistakes, but as long as we can catch them and fix it, I mean, that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. So this is the last real question I have for you, and there was a opportunity that's very near and dear to me. So I think one of our mutual acquaintances, Chef Amendola from Forged, one of his, and he answered the same question. I had the opportunity to, and it's on film somewhere, I'll find it, to work with him, and he made his very famous mushroom stew, and that is like my favorite thing on the menu there. And I was able to make it with him, so I'm just like, okay, this is great. And we're going through the process. He's like, what does this need? What does that need? I was like, this is amazing. Let's balance this out. Here's the salt, here's the acid, all of that good stuff. So I think he said that's like the signature dish that represents him as a chef. What would your signature dish be that represents you as a chef?
Oh, wow, so that's a big question. I mean, on the menu right now, I mean, we change things so much that I don't know. Yeah, that mushroom stew that Chris makes is amazing, and he's someone that's just so committed to sourcing locally and doing. I like Chris the person. I definitely like his food. He's amazing. God, I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know. I don't think I've been asked that before. I don't really have I would say, a signature dish, I think we've had some great curries on the menu. I really enjoy doing that, just because I just love the Indian influence. On the breakfast menu right now, we have our cured salmon, which is amazing. We make all that in-house. But I wouldn't say I particularly have one dish that stands out. I'm sure if somebody came in here, they're going to tell you, oh, the smoked turkey sandwich or the coronation. But, I'm one of those people that I love doing. If I'm going to make a sandwich, I'm going to put 100% love into it. If I'm making a string, I'm going to put the same love into it. So I don't know, it'd be hard for me to tell you one, all I can tell you is whatever we're doing here, we try our best to make it with love and with passion. And I think that people get that when they eat here.
Absolutely. That's very fair. And thank you for sharing that. So in the last few moments here, I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions. Don't overthink them. I always have to preface it. Don't overthink them. All right. So what is a word or phrase that you use way too much that you just overuse?
Wow. Mate. Say mate. I mean, there's plenty of swear words, but I'll leave them off the podcast.
That's funny. You already touched on this, so I'm going to skip it. What is the key to the perfect scrambled egg? And that is something that I really enjoy from your place. I always remark upon, it's like, yeah, these are like the best scrambled eggs I've ever actually had. And I'm a person that's proposed to food before. I've proposed to a lobster bisque in Nashville once. So, the eggs are there. The eggs might be my side. So what is the key to a perfect scrambled egg?
Perfect scrambled egg. First off, you got to use the right pot. You got to use a really good pot, a heavy base one. You got to use a spatula. You need to cook it not too high, kind of cook it nice and slow. And you got to add butter. I mean, you got to have a little bit of butter in there. We add eggs to ours, but slow. Do not cook it too hard. Do not have the heat up. So that is the. And then season it properly. I personally don't like any black pepper in there. We just use salt. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Simplicity, but done well. Could you recommend any book that has had an influence on your career?
Oh man, a ton. Yeah, I think for me, I always will. The reason one of our inspirations for this place is a chef called Yotam Motolinghi. He has a bunch of places in London. He's an Israeli guy. And I remember me and my wife, the first time we kind of went to London together, we went to one of his bakeries. He has a ton all over London. And his books, Motolinghi has lots of different cookbooks. That one, they're great. He has, all different varieties of cookbooks, so they're great. The recipes really, sometimes you get a cookbook and you try a recipe and it doesn't work. Yeah. So like a bunch of chefs are just basically just giving you some bullshit recipe. Yeah. All of his recipes work. And I actually took my staff. He did a talk in DC not too long ago. I took me and the staff here, and we went to that to sit down and listen to his thought process around food. So he's a big inspiration. And then, I have a bunch of Jamie Oliver recipe books. So I like him as well. And I've worked with him a couple of times just through working in New York and for Soho House. That's a big one. And yeah, so they're the two ones I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Here's the last question. This is the kind of end of the interview sort of question. So obviously Indian food is the thing. You're a fan of Indian food, and you like to even work it into influences within your menu. So let's say you're not working on a day, and you're going to order some takeout. You're going to order some Indian food. What are your go-tos? What are you ordering?
Oh my God, I'm going to get tikka masala because I just love that. Got to get the garlic naan. Got to get garlic naan, and the Peshwari naan. You got to get that. I really like that. And you have to get, if they have it, is onion bhajis. A lot of Indian restaurants here don't really do it. It's like an onion fritter, which in every place in London, in England, they have it. And then Bombay potatoes, which is potatoes just cooked in a bunch of different spices. That's really, really good.
That sounds amazing. That's very close to what my go-to is, or what have you. If I'm ordering from like Namaste or the Kumari restaurant or what have you, those are like pretty much the staples for me. Yeah. So,
and if I can go back to the cookbook thing, I got to make one more.
Yeah, please.
Fergus Henderson. He's one other great book. He's another very inspirational English chef that I actually got the privilege to work with him in New York for 2 weeks, and he signed my cookbook, and he actually even helped me get my green card. He did a letter for me, so he's another guy that is just inspiring. And the kind of reason why we started to do all our own butchery in house as well.
Well, thank you. This has been enlightening. This has been a good start to my day. I got a sandwich. I'm over here talking to you. This is great. So with that being said, I want to thank you for being on this podcast. And two, I want to invite and encourage you to tell the fine folks where to come visit. You get some food and website, all that good information. The floor is yours.
Great. Yeah. So we're located on Lake Avenue at the bottom of Falls Road, right at the front there, Suite 101. You can follow us on Instagram, the Corner Pantry. You can follow me on Instagram, Chef Neill Howell. And then our website is thecorner.pantry. And yeah, we're open Monday to Saturday. We do brunch on Saturday. We have donuts. We have lots of great stuff. So come in and enjoy yourself. And if you're looking for any catering, you can hit us up for that too.
So there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Chef Neill Howell from the Corner Pantry. I am Rob Lee, saying that there is food in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for it.